Hello and welcome to episode 93 of our SAP on Azure video podcast. Today is May 19th, and together with Robert and Goran, we are here to talk about anything related to SAP and Microsoft. Hello, everyone.
Hi, guys.
So in the recent days and weeks, there has been a lot of discussions around low-code tooling. Actually, both at the recent DSAG event and the Sapphire event, low-code was mentioned all around, I would say. So we thought that today we would like to take a look at the low-code story in general, obviously look at some of the tools from the SAP side, but then also do a closer look at the tooling story on the Microsoft side. So mainly, obviously, the Microsoft Power Platform. But before we continue there, let's, as always, take a quick look at some of the news from this week. And I actually want to start with a nice blog post from Martin, so just released. This blog post actually refers to a post that he has created already some time ago on the tech community. And obviously we had Martin also, Martin and Chandra actually also on the show last week.
Yeah.
Now he has just written a small summary and another push in this direction, because obviously Purview is something that is currently very interesting, still in the early days, I would say, especially when it comes to the SAP integration. But there's a huge potential on, what did Martin say? It is my dashboard lying to me. So how you can really track and look at the lineage of the data where your information is coming from. So I think definitely great to see that Martin is still blogging very actively on the SAP community. Speaking of the SAP community, in the recent months, there has been this developer survey. So basically, like in the last few years, SAP reached out to the developer community and asked them a few questions. And here, more than 1,000 developers replied, basically. And it's quite interesting. So it's a fairly long report, but that's actually good. And some of the takeaways are that cloud is getting more adoption. So I mean, still 42% are saying no, they're not developing in the cloud, but the number is increasing. So 48% are saying yes, we are using cloud platform for the development. So that's one interesting thing. The main thing is still the ERP system. ERP system, the digital core. So 81% are building on the ERP system. So I think that's very interesting. What I also thought quite interesting was this the experience of the audience. So 85% of the respondents said that they have 6 or more years of professional experience. Okay. Which I think is good on the one hand side, but on the other hand, you might also argue, well, is SAP getting enough new developers that only started 1 year or 2 years or something like that? So that's, I think, definitely. I don't know the numbers from a Microsoft side, but
do they have something? What languages or which platform they're referring to in this survey?
Yes. So I need to scroll down, and you can see it's loading in the background. I should have done this before. But so obviously ABAP is number one.
Yeah, okay, that is.
Then I think there was JavaScript. Python was also fairly. So we're almost there. ABAP is number one. JavaScript, Python, Java, C#. So,
it's
a long list, but ABAP is clearly the number one. But obviously, we asked an SAP community here. The other thing, or the last thing, and again, there's a lot of content, but the last thing that I want to highlight, there was a question: how do you learn? What are the areas where you get your information from? And YouTube was one of the on the first places. So I think with our podcast, we're definitely on the right track here. That we have this on YouTube. I mean, we obviously also have an audio version available, but so maybe since we never do this typically, but if you have not yet subscribed to our channel, definitely now click on the subscribe button and
now it's time
to learn with us. Good. So this is the developer survey, which has a lot of great insights, and I think it's definitely worth to spend some time on it. But yeah, the next thing, Brad Smith was currently in Germany actually, and along his visit to Germany, he also published this very long blog post on how Microsoft responds to the European cloud providers. So the idea is obviously there's a lot of concern from European customers and companies on Azure, but I think Microsoft is taking this really serious and is really very transparent, very open, working with the governments on this. And basically in this rather long blog post, Brett outlines what Microsoft is doing actually, what are the areas where Microsoft is investing in data protection, data governance, and working with the European community or European Council there. They also talk about the sovereign cloud that SAP and Arvato are setting up, leveraging Microsoft Azure infrastructure. So it's a fairly long report, but I think it also really shows how serious all of this is for Microsoft and how much effort Microsoft is really putting in this to really make sure that European customers should not worry or can at least use Azure as a trusted cloud provider. Then Robert, you brought this up. There's from our partner Syntax.
Yeah, there's a nice blog. This is German. Unfortunately, there's no English version from Konstantin Klein. He's working for Syntax. What is very important? Konstantin is, I think, 15 years SQL MVP. Yeah, something like that. He's a global product manager on the Syntax side, one of our partners. And his second blog in direction of SAP and Azure, and he's writing actually how to approach not just a classical lift and shift and infrastructure approach, yeah, and also that customers should take into account that the next step, let's call it, is also integration part. Yeah, very nice overview of what customers should take into account when they are thinking about moving to the cloud. Yeah.
Actually, what I like about them is they are also very much investing in the Power Platform and SAP integration. And this is exactly what you said. It's not only about the lift and shift and migrating the SAP system, but also doing the next steps. And that's where I've seen some really amazing Power Platform and SAP integration scenarios from them already. So really cool to see this.
Yep.
Okay, moving on. We have our Build conference coming up. Build is again, well, it's not completely virtual, right? Since, for example, in Berlin, we have also an on-site event there. But I think the main things are obviously, or everyone can watch it virtual. So all the sessions will be available online. So if you have not registered, do this. Because if you register, then we are hosting a roundtable. So basically, the idea is that if you are an SAP developer, a Microsoft developer, if you are working in this integration space, then we want to learn from you about your experience. So what is going well? What is not so going well? What are areas where you would like to see improvements on our side? So if you have a chance, so it's on Wednesday evening German time. If you have time, it would be fantastic if you can join. I'm sure we'll have some really good discussions and we'll be able to learn a lot from our customers and partners in this area.
There's also a session on the Build German version, also during the working time, I think.
Yeah,
on our side. Yeah.
In general, you mean for the Build conference?
Yep. Yeah. From the German part. Yeah. I think there was something.
Let me actually see if I can. No, this is the English one, but you're right. There's also
it's English one. So there's also a German version of the site where the content of our speakers here. Look, exactly here. And now it's German language, of course. And then you have also the sessions. You will see there are the sessions which are in parallel with some sessions in US. Which are more or less same, but there are the special sessions only for German speaking countries.
Here, exactly. There's the
Yep.
The schedule for the Germans. Cool. Yeah. No, unfortunately, I will not be in Berlin, but I think it would
me
be
too.
great to meet Marianne Dennis. Dennis is one of our global black belts. And Daniel Meixner actually also was on the show a very long time ago talking about DevOps and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely gonna really good, I think. And there will be some cool announcement.
Yep.
Okay, but before Build and before Sapphire, actually, we had the DSAC Technology Days, and I had the pleasure to be there to meet a lot of customers, partners, and colleagues. Actually, some of them for the first time in person, and I also had a chance to do a presentation on Power Platform and SAP, and I basically started the session by saying, look, I don't want to show a lot of slides. I really want to focus on showing you how easy it is to work with the Power Platform. So I had prepared like 40 minutes of live demos, but since I wasn't sure if everything would actually work out, I did a fallback recording, which luckily I didn't have to use. But so this one is basically the recording, my fallback recording, where I guide you through the whole process of starting from Outlook or in Excel and then going through the whole low-code story. So if you want to see what you can do with the Power Platform, especially in the Office area, then maybe this video might be helpful.
I mean, you will go a little bit later in the same direction, like
yes.
You have a video, and this is what I like, because you show really this, how we usually start to, interact with data. It's mostly Excel, and then we need to a little bit more complex, and how to go through Power Platform, how to utilize Power Platform. I like the story you are telling there. It's very nice. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, let's see what we can do in a few
later,
minutes. Yeah. But if you want to go back and take a look at the video, then yeah, definitely check it out. So after DSAC was Sapphire, and obviously there are a lot of great summary blog posts there that outline what was talked about. But I actually like this very short summary of tweets from Holger Müller. Basically, he has this event tweet collections. I actually don't even know how to do this, but he summarized his tweets following the whole Sapphire event, and which is pretty good because there's a lot of precise highlights. So some good summary on this. So he walks through the whole show. Basically, he talks about the highlights at Sapphire, the main points like data transparency, sustainability. And there was one more thing that I forgot actually, but so he's really walking through the whole Sapphire event. What was also cool, there was an analyst briefing before the actual event, and unfortunately, I don't. This was probably not streamed or anything, but it must have been really interesting because Holger he asked some nasty questions apparently to all the participants, and apparently there was some really good replies from all the participants. So take a look at these tweets. I think this is a nice summary. Now, having said that, Sapphire, DSAC, low code was again a very important topic, and I talked to the to several colleagues from SAP during Sapphire, and again, the idea was let's take a look at what can you do with the Power Platform, what can you do with the SAP side. And before we go to the Power Platform, I quickly want to highlight a few things, because actually I was quite impressed what SAP has done with the all around the low-code investments, and it was really fantastic to speak to the colleagues from SAP, to the product managers that were there at Sapphire, and they could show me some of the demos and scenarios. And I just quickly want to highlight also what is available there on the SAP side. So SAP Process Automation, I mean, all of this is part of the Business Technology Platform, but with the SAP Process Automation, you have this RPA functionality where you can create workflows similar like our Power Automate, I would say, but it's very well embedded into the SAP world, obviously, and definitely helps a lot of SAP experts to streamline and automate their processes. So I think if you are an SAP user, I think it's definitely worth to check out the SAP Process Automation. Similarly, if we go to the applications, SAP AppGyver, again, similar to our SAP Power App, with AppGyver, you can create new applications. So if you have an SAP Process Automation flow or something like that that you want to consume, or if you want to consume an OData service, then with AppGyver, you can, by just dragging and dropping some icons and tools, you can also create some cool applications. So again, I think a nice, here you can see a small video, a nice tool that helps you to quickly create a new application. So I thought that was also quite interesting to see from SAP there. Actually, if you want to learn more, there's an build, extend, and automate with SAP's powerful low-code, no-code solutions community call coming up. So next week there's this event on YouTube. So we have all the links again in our show notes there. So if you want to take a closer look, check this out. Or there's even a much longer, an 18-hour learning journey utilizing low-code applications for citizen developers. I have not checked it out, to be honest, but it sounds very, very detailed to really get started with the low-code offering from the SAP side. So I think low-code is there. I know that there are some discussions whether is it really production ready? Can I really use it? And oh, it's taking away my jobs and all these kind of things, which I don't really agree with. I think we have a good story, a very mature story in the meantime with low codes. But if you want to check this out from the SAP side, then I think there's a lot of content there available.
Yeah, I mean, from this low code perspective, mean that you don't need to know anything. But I mean, it's a little bit wrong because wrong assumption, because you need to understand the source. You need to understand what you are looking for, from where you need to understand the source of data. Yeah. So then also, you need to know how to call that, how to use those multiple connectors. And also on the other side, you need to a little bit understand about UI and how to create the controls, what is usability and so on. So it's easy. You don't need to really, control and handle events and everything and what you usually need to do. From that side is really low code, but still you need to know, what you want to achieve on the end. But it's very nice tools. I'm also, if you take a look, Power Platform on our side, you can do amazing stuff, and you'll now show that to us, or
let's hope so. Yes, but yeah. I think you brought up a very, very important point, and I think that's again something where Microsoft is investing quite a lot, and that is what we call this fusion teams. That the low coder is only doing some portions of the whole process. There's also the pro coder, or maybe the ABAP expert, the SAP expert, and they work together. And I think one of the areas where Microsoft is investing really a lot is to make sure that these two worlds are coming together. But as you said, let's take a look at this. And in contrary to where the SAP tooling is going, and again, I like the SAP tooling, but I think the audience that the SAP tooling story is addressing with our customers is a very different one from the audience that we are addressing with the Power Platform. So with the SAP tooling, you are a user that knows about the business technology platform. You're a user that knows about SAP Fiori, about the business application studio and all these tools. With the Power Platform, I think we're taking a different approach where we are more addressing the user that is coming from the office world. And what I would like to start with is here, if we take a look at Excel, for example, and actually let me try out with a completely fresh Excel sheet. I think everyone who's using SAP is also using Excel. You copy data from your SAP system, you paste it into Excel, and you get started. Now, obviously you can do this, and here, for example, I already have some information here in a small table. Now, if I want to create this in an SAP system, what I would typically do, I would copy and paste this information over, and that's it. With the Power Platform, what I can do is I can just go here to data, and if I click here on this flow icon, then Power Automate Flow opens up within my Excel tool. So I don't need to start the Power Platform independently of Excel. I have this native experience. So we bring this functionality to the end user in a very seamless way. And then what I can do is I can just create here, for example, a new flow. I could start from a template. I could start from an so-called instant cloud flow, or I can here just select one of these templates below. So send an email for a selected row, or I don't know, post a message to Teams for a selected row, for example. Or what we can also do is for a selected row, start a custom action. And if we do this, so here's the authentication happening. So we obviously need to connect to Excel. So we'll just click here on continue. And now I'm ready to create my flow. And this flow can, obviously it has a starting point. So for a selected row, I start probably with a certain table. So maybe I have multiple sheets here, but I have one sheet here. And then we have this table has a certain name. If I click here, so this is table 1. Okay, so we go there. And then I just add a new step. And here we have multiple ways how we can connect to an SAP system. We have the possibility to call Power Automate Flow. So we have also this RPA tooling, for example, where I can really simulate clicks. And that's something that I've, for example, already prepared. So I can run a flow from a Power Automate desktop. So that's our, actually, I need to switch users here. I think that's the one. So I can select one of these pre-configured scripts, and then I can just run it in an attendant mode. And you can already see it's asking me for the product ID and I can just select here product ID, for example, and product name. So I'll just do the mapping. And then if I run this, then we actually simulate the clicks to open up the SAP GUI, to go to a certain transaction, and then to enter the data in the SAP system. So it's a fairly easy starting point. Another thing, let me just delete this here. Another thing that we could do is there's also an SAP ERP connector. So really using remote function calls or BAPIs to connect to the SAP system. So if I do this, then again, I need to select here my user. So I've configured an RFC user. Now I need to enter the host name. So my host name is 10.7.05. So this host is behind a firewall, obviously. So we have something called an on-premise data gateway. It's very similar to the SAP Cloud Connector. So it allows us to connect to an SAP system behind a firewall. Then obviously I need to enter the client ID and the system number. And now I can look up function modules. So if I start, this is a demo system. So if I start for EPM, oh no, sorry, what's the name? BAPI EPM products, for example. So I just, wait, there is an error. I have the wrong name. Okay, sorry. So this was the wrong client ID. That's why we got the error message. It's client 001. Now, if we go back here and we search for BAPI EPM, then we should get, come on. Here we go. There it was. So BAPI
we need to
EPM.
wait a bit.
Then it looks up all the available BAPIs. And now, for example, I could, in our case, I could do an product create, for example. And you can see now here, it dynamically loads all the fields. And I could now say, okay, here, this is the product ID. This is the type code. Okay, I would need to hard code, but this is the product name and so on. So now I can map the fields from here into my ERP connector. And that's actually pretty powerful. Of course, coming back to the point that you mentioned before, here I need to have some SAP expertise, because what is header data category or header data type code? Maybe I don't know. And that's actually something where SAP also adopted OData. So what we can also do Okay, it's not here. Let me switch. Let me actually open this one up here. So instead of doing this within Excel, let me do this over here. So I'll take a look at my existing flows here. And if I actually, or let me actually, no, here, this one, select, I'll just pick up this for a selected row. So this is our flow that is called from Excel. And you can already see, if I go in here, so we tested it with the ERP connector, with the Power Automate desktop. And if I search here for OData, then you can see an OData service here. And the reason why it didn't show up in Excel right now was this connector is currently in preview, in private preview. So okay. Not everyone can use it immediately. But here now I have the same functionalities as before. So I can update, I can create, I can read information. And for example, if I would select here the create OData, then of course I need to again provide, or not again, but I need to provide the URL of my OData service. So if I put in this one here, and let me actually, that's good. Then now I can browse here for the entities. So you can see there's a business partner, a contact partner, a product set. And keep in mind, this is the very same information that is also used by SAP Fiori. Now we're just getting this information and making it available in the Power Platform. And you can see it's much easier to read. So this is product ID. Well, it's still type code, but it's more readable. And potentially this OData service could be even more human readable, so to say. So with this, we have these different ways how we can easily connect from Excel via Power Automate to an SAP system. Okay, let me clean this up again, or at least that I don't forget. So with this, with Power Automate, we have this way to easily connect our Office products, like what we've seen with Excel, but the same is true obviously for Outlook, for Teams, for PowerPoint, with other scenarios, and there are literally hundreds of connectors available. So this list here is a huge list, and there are a lot of connectors also from third-party applications natively available. So for me, it's very easy to create a new flow and then connect to different backend systems.
I think, it's somehow with this flow add-in, what is part of Excel, you are opening complete, Azure platform world, but also SAP platform world. So you can just utilize all those connectors, all those advanced services or third-party services to enrich your actually Microsoft Office.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And it's fairly easy, even if there's no direct connector. For example, there's an HTTP connector.
Yeah.
So I can use this to call any REST service, for example.
Trigger, yeah.
So it's really nice.
Yep.
And once I have this Power Automate, then what we often see is, well, now let's create an application, a standalone application. Maybe you don't want to have this specifically in your in Office, but you want to have a standalone application. Maybe you want to have an application running on your mobile device or something like that. And that's also something that you can very easily do. So let me just do here podcast. Let's create a podcast application. And with this one now we are rendering the framework basically. So here you can see the small canvas here, and I can just, for example, what do? We start with a button here let's call this load from SAP or something like that, and we'll connect this button with an action, with a Power Automate flow action. So I'll just go in here. I'll look for available flows, and I think I have a fetch here. There's the fetch products. So we'll just use this one. So now we are connecting to, let me actually, while this is loading, let me open this one up quickly, or here, let's go over here. So this is our fetch product. So it's a very simple flow. It just has an input, a trigger, which is our Power Automate, and then it just queries an OData service. So very simple. Now, hopefully there it is. So now if I click this button, then we fetch this information. And now what I can do next is I'll just visualize this in a so-called gallery. So let's do this. And actually, what we'll do is we can do this a little bigger. We can maybe select here, because I don't have some pictures at the moment. We'll select this one. We don't need details. So what we want to do is, if someone clicks here this button, so on select, what we'll do is we'll do a clear collect. So that's the name. We'll buffer basically the information that is coming from our Power Automate flow. And then we put this information in that product. And now if I just click on here, then it already tries to map the information. Now, we don't see anything. Why? Because we have not yet loaded information from the SAP. So I can do this directly here. I just click on the load button.
And
now
I have everything.
We're fetching the data from the SAP system. And there you go. So now we have here, well, not really relevant information. I mean, here we have the category, which probably doesn't make a lot of sense, but I can just go in here and say, well, what others do we have? Well, we have a name. Okay, so let's take the name. Then maybe let's do here the category. Okay, so here we have the category. And this is something how can very easily build an application in the Power App. Now,
it's very interesting. You know, you just collect your information first time, and now you're using those information like your demo data to beautify your application. Because if you are doing that in old way, you need to somehow simulate that. You need to create demo data. You need to be sure that everything is mapping correctly. Now you have your demo data. You just need to beautify that in this application.
Absolutely. Yep. And actually, beautifying is a nice keyword, because look at this date here. That's probably not a very beautiful thing in Power App. And now this is another area where I think this whole breadth and amount of investment that Microsoft is doing in general in the area of low code, but also in other areas, like, for example, natural language recognition and stuff like that. So you know the work that we're doing with GPT-3, the work that we've done in GitHub Copilot, for example. We're doing now the same thing also in the low code area. And so keep in mind, for you, Robert, this is very easy to use some regular expressions to change this in the format that you actually like. But let's say for a business user, this is a huge challenge. The business user probably doesn't even know what a regular expression is. Now, what we can do is, if we go here to ideas, then we can say, well, look, this is actually not the date format that I want. What I would like, I don't need this timestamp. I just need the date. And actually, I don't need it like this. Since I'm here in Germany, I would like the format to be like this. Now, what I can do is I can click here on Get Ideas. And now Power Automate is using this GPT-3 model to say, okay, this is the target, or this is the source, this is the target. So this is probably the right way to format this information. And now what I really want to highlight, this is, so for example, here we have May 3rd. Here we have 10th of September. So you can see that these are different dates. Now, if I click on apply, then we apply this formula
to everything.
And now we have the right date. And that's, for me, another really amazing thing that we are doing there. We are really helping the business user to create.
So this is the way. Okay, how you did it, I have no idea, but it's working. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing for the business user. They would probably not be able to write this one here. Power Automate helped them to come to this conclusion.
Great.
So, whenever I see these easy demos here, the next thing is, well, you need to have a barcode scenario. So that's apparently the big thing.
Interaction. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. And so what you can do here, and actually that's actually not the one that I wanted to show, but let me. Let me go in here. So creating. I think that's the one that I wanted to show actually. But I cannot open it. Maybe it's here. Sorry for that. So I quickly want to show how easy it actually is to also work with these barcode functionality. So if you really want to use native mobile scenarios, and that's when you basically just start again with creating this canvas. You move some buttons around to connect to the SAP system. So again, you leverage the information from the SAP system to retrieve information, and then you just add here. There's a under media. There's a barcode scanner. There's a web barcode scanner, a mobile barcode scanner, and you just enter this, and then you specify what should happen when this barcode is scanned. Then you, for example, once I have this information, I can call another Power Automate flow. This in this specific case, we're just connecting to an API that retrieves information what is behind the barcode, and then in the last step here, I'll just write the so again I'll just call another Power Automate flow that creates the information in the SAP system. So a very simple scenario, and actually let me move here over my mobile. So this is really let me try to resize this a little. So this is now my mobile device. I have it here. So if I click here on the scan button, oops, there we go. So you see my messy desktop, and here there's a nice book that talks about SAP and Microsoft integration. If I scan the barcode, okay, that was already it. Then I can just click on look up the barcode. So now we're taking this barcode information from the specific book. We're retrieving the information like the title, the author, and some subtitles. And now I just can click on create an SAP system, and we are creating this new item in our SAP system. So we're using the OData service, or we're using the ERP connector to create the information in the SAP system. So I think that's more or less the main things that I wanted to show, to just highlight the Power Automate flow, to show that we have a lot of connectivity options to connect to Microsoft services, to SAP services, to completely different services, to anything, and then to also have a visualization layer in the Power App where we can create, for example, a mobile application, but also as we've started basically to embed this in Excel, to embed this into Outlook, to embed this in other services, and that's for me really the power of the Power Platform, I would say.
You know, actually, last episode when we discussed about what is now Microsoft Purview, not Azure Purview anymore. Huh?
Yes.
So, I mean, this is also, very nice fit to what you present today, because last session we discussed about how to unify the different sources, how to recognize my data, how to know what I'm looking for, how to search that data, which can help me actually to understand, okay, which source I need to somehow integrate in my application. What is also interesting, you showed the different flows which you are using behind those buttons. So that means someone can create the collection of flows for me. Yeah, maybe someone with more experience about that data source, and I can just utilize that.
Great example, exactly, yep. And that's again coming to this point of separating of experiences. If in order to create such an ERP connector, I need to have some understanding of the SAP system.
Yep.
This can be done by an SAP expert. Once that is done, I'm just consuming here the Power Automate flow that returns product information, or that returns invoices or purchase orders, and I don't need to know the specifics anymore about how this is done in the SAP system. Yeah, great point.
Yeah, great. So, dear 58% of SAP non-cloud developers, if you want to learn how to develop cloud, here's a way how to do it. Yeah. And next time when SAP execute that survey, we'll have much more.
Yeah, let's see how it is next year. Absolutely.
Exactly. Okay, great. Very interesting.
Yep. I think there was a quick walkthrough through the low-code tooling, both on the SAP, on the Microsoft side. If you are interested, here on our channel, we have lots of content around this. I think you, Robert, also had some topics with Martin Pankratz. There are also some videos that go in this direction. So yeah, definitely check it out.
Yep, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.